What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about my 2024 or end of 2024 office tour. I'm gonna do a more specific desk setup tour later, but for now we're gonna talk about everything, how I use everything for YouTube, programming, content creation, everything. Now my office is actually really small. I have about 10 by 12 feet of space to work with in here, which is really hard because I'm doing software engineering, content creation, multiple desk setups, and I also want it to look good. So it's very small and I try to do my best with it. So right when you walk in, you'll see behind me is kind of the first stuff you'll see. And you'll see I have a very Porsche themed office. So behind me is like this really cool orange Porsche picture that I got for Christmas a few years ago. I think it looks super good and I just threw it in an IKEA frame and I really love it. And then kind of continuing on that trend of just things that look pretty cool. I have a shelf behind me that, I don't know, it's just some generic black minimal looking shelf. Super heavy duty, so it's really nice quality, but I have a bunch of like trinkets and things that I really enjoy on there. Things that kind of represent who I am, what I do, and they also look good on camera, which is super important for this backdrop shooting this way. So I have things like my Porsche Lego, I have Shinola things, which if you don't know, I live in Ann Arbor and that's like a Detroit brand, so I have some of their watches. So I try to represent them here on the channel as well. And then just a few little other bits and bobs that I kind of collected over the years, app icon books because I'm a software engineer who focuses on iOS apps. And then of course mechanical keyboards because that's just a huge trend on my channel. Now, if you swing around to the left when you walk in, you'll see my main desk setup area. And this is where I spend 99% of my time. And everything is really thought out about why I have it the way that it is. The first thing that you generally see is my monitor. It's a 34-inch LG ultra-wide monitor that I've had for about 2 or 3 years now. I don't know the exact model. They stopped making it like a year later, but the main specs are it's 144 hertz, 34-inch ultra wide. I did a whole video on ultra wide versus dual monitors, which has weirdly been popping off recently. At the end of the day, I stuck with the ultra wide monitor, although I am thinking of switching to the studio display for my Apple or for my Mac products. But for now, the 34-inch display is perfect for gaming and for using my MacBook on it. On top of the ultra-wide monitor, I have the Opal C1 4K camera. I still think this thing's awesome. It's very well designed, very well crafted. I just don't take video calls that much nowadays. Like if I do, I'm usually on my MacBook and I'll just take them from my camera here, which is another reason I want to do maybe like a Mac Studio or an Apple Studio display, is I want to kind of have a reason to work more from my MacBook at this desk setup instead of bringing it over to here or somewhere else. On the desk, you also see a bunch of accessories and they're mostly Grove made. So I have their stand for the monitor, I have their headphone stand, and I have their pencil holder. I would say that it's okay. For the price nowadays, there's way better options that are cheaper that do the same thing or look the same. I really like it because it's the walnut and black and metal look that fits with the rest of my setup, but it's definitely overpriced for the things that you can get nowadays. Speaking of headphones, I use the Audio-Technica M50X headphones still. I've used these for a long time. My favorite thing about them is that the cord that plugs into the headphones is replaceable. So if you're like me and you roll over it with your chair or you pull on it sometimes in accident, if you break that cord, you can just swap it out with a different one. And it actually came with 2 in the box. The part that I don't like is the ear cups that it came with. They're starting to kind of wear down and tear. So they're kind of splitting a little bit, but I've had them for so long, it's kind of fine. I'm gonna replace the ear cups anyways. And then pairing with those headphones, I have an entire Rode setup. So I have a Rode pod mic on a Rode boom arm. It's XLR, and all of that hooks into my Wave XLR audio interface. I think this is the best audio interface you can get for someone who actually uses it at their desk and not for instruments or things like that. The way that the Wave works is that it has a haptic feedback on top, so you can tap the top of the Wave XLR and it mutes any outgoing audio, so it mutes your mic immediately. And then also the XLR input is on the back of the audio interface as opposed to something like the Scarlett where it's on the front. So you can put it on your desk and there's not cable sticking out all over the place. The other thing is it has a wheel that you can spin to kind of change volume settings and how loud your mic is, how loud your headphones are. So it's just super user-friendly for somebody who's actually using it at their desk as opposed to a more music-focused audio interface like something from Scarlett. Now, like I said, I do use this setup for Mac and PC. So for my keyboard, my peripherals, I use either a GMMK Pro mechanical keyboard with Gateron Reds or the Magic keyboard. I love the Magic Keyboard. I love the Magic Mouse. I think they're absolutely fantastic devices for Mac use. So for my mouse, it's the same story. I'll either use the Magic Mouse or I will use the G Pro Wireless. I don't think that the G Pro Wireless has much going for it. I don't think it looks very good. I think the LEDs are kind of crappy. It's just a fine mouse for what I need it for. And the battery lasts for like 2 weeks. So I keep it around for that reason, but I don't necessarily love any certain aspect of the G Pro Wireless. It's just a fine mouse. The speakers that I'm running are still the Audio Engine A2 Plus speakers. I wish I would have got these in black. I got them in white. They're cool. The problem is my PC setup doesn't actually work with these speakers. I can either run my headphones or the speakers, but if I plug them both in, I get a warning that the USB drive or the USB power is pulling too much or something. So I don't even use these speakers. I've tried to get them set up a few times, but it hasn't worked. The way that I plug my MacBook into everything is with my Thunderbolt 3 dock from OWC. This thing is super old, but it was really expensive back in the day because it has its own power supply. It has all the ports you'll ever need to plug your MacBook in with a single cable to the Thunderbolt dock. It charges the MacBook and also splits out all the peripherals that you'd ever need. You can plug it into your monitor, you can plug USB, Thunderbolt, everything you need into the dock, and it all hooks up to the MacBook perfectly. So that's how I run the MacBook with a single setup, with a single cable. And then the desk mat that everything sits on my desk is just honestly a black, like faux leather desk mat from Amazon. I think it was like 15 bucks. As for the PC, I still run an iQnix black aluminum mini ITX setup. I love this thing. Yes, it's mini ITX, so it only has 16 gigs of RAM, but I do have a 3060 Ti in there. It runs everything I need to on the ultra wide at 1440p. I can't ever hit like ultra settings, but I can hit like high, like the one right below. So for me, it's been perfect. I think this mini ITX build is beautiful. I love the case. I absolutely love that build. So that's gonna stick around for a long time. All of this stuff sits on top of a tabletop from IKEA. It's just like a walnut countertop, the Alex drawer kind of thing that everyone did back in the day. I have the Alex drawers to go with it, and then just some random IKEA black storage unit on this side. So the whole desk setup is really from IKEA. It is on a pair of standing legs from Autonomous. They have never turned on. I don't think. The screen is completely scratched. It does not work. The desk is super cool, but the standing legs don't actually function in any way. Now, speaking of standing desks, this video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. So FlexiSpot reached out and was like, hey, can we send you a desk, a standing desk with the standing legs and the top and everything? I was like, yeah, sure, you can send me that anytime. So FlexiSpot did end up sending out a desk. This is the FlexiSpot E6. I think the newer version of it is just called the E7, but they're exactly the same desk with like upgrades for the E7, of course. This is with the white top and the white frame, but they also did send out the maple frame, so you'll see some shots of that. I think the tops are absolutely fantastic, and they're a perfect size to actually work on. So it has a 355-pound weight capacity, so you can literally sit on top of this thing and still go up and down. So anything you put on the desk is gonna be completely fine. You could put 6 monitors on this desk and it would still go up and down perfectly fine. Speaking of different heights, there are 4 preset heights you can set this desk to. It does come with a controller on the front of it. So there's basically 2 options for standing and sitting. They have their own icons. And then there's just 2 more settings if for some reason you wanna like put it in between standing and sitting, but there's 4 options to do that. And then you can of course manually adjust the height using the up and down arrows, kind of set it to whatever height you feel comfortable working at. I have it basically set to do a filming height, which is this one, a working height, which is just a little bit higher, and then of course the standing height, depending on what I wanna be doing with it. There's also wheels on the bottom of this, which is perfect because in the office setup, I actually use it over on this side of the office, which is kind of in a weird state. I don't exactly know what I'm doing with it yet. I'm gonna repaint the wall, I think, and just reconfigure the whole thing. But for now, it sits over here as just like a workstation when I'm not using the main PC setup. Now, even though I do have the white top and the maple top with the white legs, they have a bunch of options on their store. You can basically swap these out with anything. You can black legs, black top, bamboo, different sizes and shapes of the desktop. Basically any configuration you'd want, you can get on their website. So I'll put a link to that down in the description below. But yeah, thank you FlexiSpot for sending this out. I'm gonna use this in a lot of videos, and it's now my new filming desk setup because I can roll it out from the side and use it right here, so that's perfect. Speaking of the area where this FlexiSpot desk is going right now, I have a pegboard on the wall above the desk. This is all changing, but this is what it is for now. just white IKEA pegboards with a bunch of accessories and things that I think are cool. So I have whiteboard marker holders. I have extra cables that I need more often than not, so like USB-C to USB-C or USB-C to Lightning, and then some electrical tape for when I'm doing random things around the office. Basically just like a little storage area with a little bit more grab and go capacity than anything else would have just from being in shelving units or something. Now the other corner of my office has this massive Husky workbench with the lighter wood top and the black finish. This thing is absolutely insane. I'm taking it out of the office, but for now it's here. I think it's super, super nice to hold camera supplies and storage things, but it is just so big in this small office, it just does not work in this space. But it's super convenient if you have space for it and you have the camera gear and supplies to put in there. So the way that I use it is the top shelf is basically just like things that I need often, cables or SD cards or SSDs, things that I'm quickly grabbing all the time. And then all the other shelves are basically things like old iPhone devices, like old Apple devices that I have, lighting things for my Amaran lights or drones or audio equipment or phone cases, basically just anything that I've accumulated over time that I don't want to necessarily put like in the basement or something, but I don't have room to have it laying out. It all goes in the Husky workbench to be accessible if I need it. It also has plugs on the side of it because it's like an actual workbench for tools. So I plug this into my wall and then I plug all my chargers. So the one for the monitor on top of the camera charger itself, all those plug into the side of the bench. And then I feed those into the shelves or the drawers inside. So all the chargers are hidden away, but they're always charging the batteries for when I need them. I think the hardest thing with this office is figuring out how to make it so I can film in one direction. So that's why this wall is basically just like cool looking things. Have a functional workspace, which is the desk area, and then also have a third desk or like a second desk that can be accessible for filming while also being able to be put away on the wall. I did used to have the desk. I tried it out putting the desk where the Husky workbench was. That worked a little bit, but then I sold the Husky workbench. So it's a very functional studio to do like work, to do content creation, and also do filming and have different like sets all within the same 10 by 12 office. So it's taken a really long time to get it to this point, still constantly changing things around, but it's getting there. But that is gonna be it for the office tour. I know it was a lot to cover. I didn't go into too much detail on any single thing, but I will do a dedicated desk setup soon and hopefully a dedicated Mac Apple Studio display setup as well. So if you have any questions that I can answer in those videos, let me know in the comments down below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.